welcome back to Coach's Corner for episode 2 of season 2. This is a fantastic opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit about commitment. We're going to talk about accountability and what you can do as a coach and as a player to kind of maintain and better yourself during this time. We've got Sydney Roland with us, ROTC staff sergeant down there. I mean, you guys, instructor. There we go. We've got Connie Richardson, security extraordinaire. And then we have Sydney's older brother, Harry Sydney, who at one point was in the NFL with the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. But at this point, he runs an organization out in Wisconsin called My Brother's Keeper that focuses on providing a better life for young men, older men, and trying to help get them through the tough times. So he wouldn't call himself necessarily an expert on commitment and accountability, but he's got a pretty good track record to help us out here. So to get us rolling, let's start right out the gate with what are your secrets? I guess first, Harry, could you give us a brief description of what My Brother's Keeper does?
Okay, what My Brother's Keeper does, I started in 2003, and what I realized you have to understand, it started because of a lot of different things. And when I retired from coaching, I was in financial planning, but I looked around Green Bay and I realized there was an epidemic going on. And the epidemic that was going on, that boys and men were getting lost. We were building more domestic violence shelters, great programs, more after-school programs, and we were even building more animal shelters. But all those things with a trickle-down effect of men not doing their job, and nobody was really teaching the boys and men about how to think, how to see the big picture, how to have the conversation with yourself. So what My Brother's Keeper is about helping our boys and men, and I say boys and men, because our clients range from 9 to 82. We help our boys and men learn how to have the conversation with themselves before they have with somebody else. It sounds complicated, but it's real simple. It's about so much of it is about consequences. It's about thinking about the consequences, because if you're a son or athlete, you're part of a team. You're part of a team, and you got a responsibility to be part of that team. And a lot of the times, a lot of our boys and men didn't understand what that responsibility was. So My Brother's Keeper is about helping guys change their thought process.
Excellent. Thank you. I mean, and all of us here are coaches at one point in time. You coached for Green Bay. You coached a high school team out in Wisconsin. Connie coaches basketball. Sydney coaches, Roland Sydney coaches basketball as well. And our goal is to create that relationship and that accountability with our teams. What would you say is one of your tips to success with creating that accountability or that commitment to your program?
Well, I think, first of all, when guys come to our program, we have to understand why they're here. Why are you here? A lot of people don't realize they're messing up until you point out that they're messing up. They think their way is working, and so many times I ask them, how's your way working? If your way is working, you wouldn't be here. So in that process, maybe it's time for you to listen to a different way. And so what I kind of do, and we have a certain thing that we go by. It's not just me green up thing. We live by this code. It's called the IRS code. And that's when my clients come here. They all learn the IRS code, not just the tax code. It's about how to think. Because if I say to you, what's the difference between a professional athlete and an amateur athlete? What would you say?
Commitment. I mean,
okay.
Short commitment. How about you guys?
Time and investment.
Time. Okay. Somebody else?
Money.
All those things, but what we say here is the difference between a professional athlete and an amateur athlete is 3 seconds. And they go, 3 seconds? What the heck are you talking about? What I mean by 3 seconds, if the starting right guard for the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point football team got a DUI, who would really hear about it? Family, school. Starting right guard of the Green Bay Packers gets a DUI. Who hears about it? The whole world. So the professional athlete understands how he needs to think in those 3 seconds because he knows he can lose it all. So he has to force himself to think about commitment, think about why he's doing things, to take him down a different mindset. And that's where that our IRS code goes in those 3 seconds. We want our guys to be thinking about integrity. Integrity. Integrity means knowing what the right thing to do is and being willing to do it at all times, period. End of discussion. End of discussion. There's no yeah, but, because the key to that definition is at all times. Because if you're going to do that at all times, then you're going to respect yourself and you're going to respect others. And it's just a flow. So what we do here is we teach guys how to build their house, how to build their house better. Because unfortunately in our world, as young boys and men, think about this. What's the difference between a successful man and a man of success? And I don't mean to be taking over the show, but that's just kind of who I am. I just got rolling. What's the difference between a successful man and a man of success?
Really depends on the definition.
As coaches, you deal with this all the time, but you don't even know it.
I think about our wrestling program and I think about what we define as success, right? I mean, kid rolls in, day one, some of them think the only thing that's successful is an undefeated state championship season. But it's teaching a kid that, maybe getting that first takedown is your success. Completing the season, committing to that season all the way through is a man becoming the man of success or the girl of success, woman of success, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it kind of, and all those things, but unfortunate for some of the guys that I've coached, I dealt with from inner city kids and stuff, so many of us have been taught to be successful men or a successful person as opposed to a person of success, because our society teaches everybody to chase his stuff. Got to have the car, got to have the shoes, got to have all the money, the bling, and all that stuff. The problem is all it takes is one mistake to lose that. We've seen guys in sports that make mistakes and lose it. Look at Tiger Woods way back when, look at Mike Tyson, all those things, they're chasing that stuff. Well, what we try to teach our guys is instead of being a man of success is about substance. It's about being a man of integrity. It's about respecting yourself. It's about living up to your standards. It's about being disciplined, holding yourself accountable, and being responsible. Because if we do those things, all that stuff will come. But the problem is if we don't do those things, all it takes is 1 second and we can lose everything. So part of the hard part of coaching today is helping kids allow themselves to be patient enough to embrace the substance and realize if they do that right, the stuff will come. Does that make sense?
Definitely. I know where I'm going next with my question, but do either of you guys have a question for Harry?
I think I'll once you finish your questions, if I have some, I'll ask then. I don't want to maybe my question mix up with your question.
I have a question, but I'm going to wait.
Okay. Excellent. So this will lead right into what you're talking about then. So you think about right now in our current situation, especially in education, we get to deal with a lot of kids from a lot of different backgrounds, dealing with a lot of different things. I mean, whether they're home alone and they've got to do school by themselves, but they've also got to figure out a way to educate their younger siblings. They've got to help provide for their family. So there's a lot that is weighing down on these kids, not to mention what's going on nationally with with the political climate, with the racial tension out there. The world, yeah. The world. It's a struggle, right? And they want to change it. They want to do something better. But how do you? What is? Because we can all talk about it, right? We can all say, I want something different. I want something to change.
Yeah.
What would you say is something that you've seen help you get them to move forward with that and stick with it? Like, I want change. Here we go. Instead of, man, I wish things were different. I'll wait for somebody else to do it.
Well, because a lot of times people want to talk about the problem, but not be part of the solution. And the problem is a lot of times in that change, they want change to happen real fast. Even though you think change should have happened. I'm 61 years old. Hell, I've been waiting for change a long time. And so many times it doesn't happen the way we want it to, but we have to pay attention to that it's happening because people are talking, and it's definitely going to help it as if they see you as a vehicle of change. Because a lot of people want to talk about change, but don't want to change. And the best way to be an example change is you change. And change doesn't have to be drastic. Change can be a prime example with all this stuff, the Floyd and all these different things. I golf a lot. I love golfing. I was at a golf course that I golf it every morning. And then an elderly white gentleman came up to me. And he came up to me and he says, Harry, with tears in his eyes, he says, man, I want to apologize. He says, I said, look at me, what? He says, yeah, I want to apologize because I didn't know. And so many times, and we shook and all those things, but so many times we keep looking for that thunderbolt that says we change instead of looking at the little things. And the little things are happening. We just have to pay attention to them. So as a young kid, I say that if they want change to happen, be about it. Be about it. And to change, you got to sacrifice certain things. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, your generation that you're coaching, you guys have so many hurdles to overcome, man. Because here's what you got to realize. Everybody has stuff. Whether it's the kid that goes home and mom and dad are fighting every night and he doesn't eat or has to worry about mom and dad fighting, or there's no mom and dad, or there's no money, or they don't know where they're sleeping, or there's abuse, or they're walking the world faking it because they're scared as hell, but nobody knows they're scared. Everybody has stuff, but it's how we handle that stuff. It's how we handle that stuff, and everybody has a choice on how to handle it. That's what I teach my clients. Yeah, it's not what happens. It's how you handle what happens. It's how you handle it. You're not going to get a new cards. You're not going to get a new deck. So you got to play the cards that you have. So how you going to play them?
Thank you.
So I have a question. So I'm in high school and I work with kids probably 15 to 18, 14 to 18, 15 to 18 probably. So how do I tell a kid, and we talked about this previously, not to use drugs, or if you do this, this is what's going to happen, and they don't believe you. So how do I?
Well, what I usually tell kids is that I ask them, how's their way working? How's their way working? Is the drug getting in the way? What do you mean? Is it getting in the way? Is it stopping you from doing this? If you weren't doing this, could you do this? It's not about me. It's about, is it getting in the way? Because if it's getting in the way, it's up to you to change. Now, if you want something more, you're going to change. If you don't want nothing more, but here's the deal. I'm not going to work harder than you. Too many people get caught up in working harder than that guy. Love you, like you, hope things work out. But I can't be sweating it if you're not trying to make it happen. We got too many people that are trying to be friends. Sometimes we just got to be real with them and hit them right. Now, my job and my other mentor's job, my job is to be an artist. As a coach, your job is to be an artist. Your job is to paint pictures your players or my clients can see. It doesn't matter whether I see it, they got to see it. So part of what we also do is help find reasons for those guys to see it or girls to see it. Because nobody changes unless they have a reason to change. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a good question. How do you, when you're dealing with individuals, and I know you probably deal with a lot, that the group is not a positive group that they're around. Their surrounding affects who they, I guess, at the end of the day can truly be. How do you get them to pull themselves away from individuals that are dragging them down? Is that, I mean, something with a lot?
Yeah, the first thing you have to do is make them recognize that person's dragging them down. You got to make them recognize that person's. How come every time you're with Steve, you get in trouble, but yet you say Steve is good for you? Because part of what I do in my program, most of our people, I call it, we build our house on quicksands, and it sinks. So what we have to do, what I do with my clients is I help them build a house, and the most important thing is a solid foundation. And then that foundation, the bottom for is integrity. Then there's respect for a wall. Then there's establishing standards. But you can't respect yourself unless you're a man of integrity, and you can't respect yourself unless you establish standards. And then that process of establish standards, then you have to be disciplined. And then the roof is you got to hold yourself accountable and be responsible. But here's the key. Once you build your house, then I draw a door. You can't let anybody in that door unless they have the same values you have. Otherwise, they become termites. What do termites do? Eat your house up. So I draw a picture of, does this person belong inside the house, or is this person a termite? And termites can be emotions, drugs, drinking, anything that's taking you off of where you're trying to go can be considered a termite. So I draw pictures so they can see it. Does that make sense? So I asked them, is that a termite? Is he helping your life? Is he making your life better? And here's the hard part is because sometimes there's guys that, from the neighborhood, these are my boys, my ride or die. Yeah, but when you was in a jam and you got locked up, nobody called you. Nobody put money in your books. So how big is he your boy? I kind of make them see people. And also with the individual thing, the other thing I do is to let you know, I go into schools before all this COVID and stuff. I've been going to schools. I go into Preble High School, and it's the biggest high schools. And I have a classroom with anywhere from 20 to 25 minority boys, where we sit in the classroom on a weekly basis and talk about any and all issues. I go into the juvenile detention center to work with the kids that are arrested over the weekends and sit and talk about life and decision making and not my brother's keeper per se, but I talk to them about where they're going, man. You keep hanging out with Steve, but every time you're with Steve, you get in trouble, but yet you're blaming on Mike. Let's be real. And so much is because what you find, and you guys know this, the realer you are with the people that can understand the realness, the better person they become. Be the guy that's going to tell them the truth, not the guy that's going to like them or be their friend. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Thank you very much. I think you've given us quite a bit, a lot of good pieces to work with. In coaching, just like your job, your line of work, you get all kinds, and you definitely, in a sports arena, it is much different. Those interactions are a lot different than over a digital classroom or even in a classroom. So you can definitely have that real mentality. So thank you for what you've provided us today. I do have one more question, and this is strictly.
You got me. You got me as long as you need me.
Okay. Now you've got your team assembled. You got to pick a quarterback. Do you pick Montana or do you pick Favre?
Montana. That's easy, man. That's not even a hard question. And here's why.
Oh, here we go.
Here's why. As a player and a coach, Joe was a Porsche. You knew what you were going to get. You knew the speed. You know where the ball was going to get. And for a player or coach, you didn't want all those highs and lows. Brett Favre was great. He was a 4x4. As a fan, you like to ride. They both are going to get there. One's going to be smooth and one's going to be crashing. As a player coach, I want the smoothness. That's why I want Joe.
That's great. Every time I look at like Favre now, I'm going to just think of him as this big old truck just mobbing through the mud.
Yeah, he's a 4x4. They're good, but ain't a Porsche. They're just not smooth.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again for joining us. I appreciate it. You're doing great work out there, and Thank you for answering the call and helping us out. This is Coach's Corner. Fight on.